Let's see. Let's see if I can find one quickly. Hold on a second. Um, oh, I can't see that. All right. I was to look for a map for you. Is it this? Will this one work? Uh, this one might. Let me just make a thing of this. Save image. Let's do this quickly. All right. Okay, good. All right. So today you see, thank you, Bryce and Beth. Now today you will see here um um you will realize that Abraham has moved from where he was. Remember, he had settled by the tree at Mamre, which was in the Hebron area, and now he's moving on to the Negev region. And I just wanted to show you. Let me see if I can find it again. Um, can you all see that?
Mhm.
Oh, yes, we
Yes.
can see it.
Yes.
Okay, good. So you can see where Hebron is. Hebron, which is up there in the north, the top of the page. And I'm only showing you a part of the Negev. This is the northern part of the Negev. It goes way down south. But Abraham was there in the Hebron area, and he is making his way down to the Negev region. And it's believed that he was probably somewhere in the northern Negev region, because when we get into chapter 19, not sorry, chapter 21, you will see that he and Abimelech, who comes back into who you will hear about again after the birth of Isaac. They will make an agreement, a covenant there at Beersheba. And you can see where Beersheba is and its proximity from Hebron. And it's believed, despite we're not, it would probably have taken maybe it was about maybe 28, 30 miles between the two places. So it wasn't a really long trip, but he would have been walking and would taken his household and cattle and
Yeah, well,
animals
they
and
had
all
no
that
cars
sort of
back then.
stuff.
They had to
And
probably go on
yeah,
horseback and donkey back then.
yeah. And so we believe that he was somewhere near and then I get a map. I'll look for it more where I can show you where Kadesh and Sur were. But so we are given a kind of an area as to where he was, and this is the area that he left the area of Hebron, and he took his herds and his flocks down south into the Negev.
Well, where's
Um,
where is Gerar, the king of Gerar?
of Gerar. I would think that he would have been somewhere near the Negev region. Let me see if I can find
Okay.
another map. If you give me a little bit of time, if I could find another map that will have
Okay. Well, it's okay.
wait, just
I
hold on
just
a second.
because
No,
he was
just give me a second.
the king of, and it's not even on there.
Hold on one second.
So Susan and Linda, are you down here now?
No, we're in Illinois.
She's-
I'm with Susan on
So
my
it's,
way south. I won't be south until January 2nd. I'm staying here in Bloomington until January 2nd, then flying into West Palm Beach.
She's got her daughter and son here, so she's going to spend Christmas with them
excellent.
and me.
Yes.
And
My husband Larry stayed behind in New York to have Christmas with his family. So this will be the first time we're splitting Christmases.
here's Gerard.
See.
Well, it's her son's 50th birthday, so she wanted to be here for that, especially. So
I get that.
Let me see something here. Just give me a minute, please.
Well, it's not that important. We've got a lot to get through. It's just,
No, it's all right. It's not a problem. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to move this thing at the top, and I cannot get it to move. Ah, there we go. Great. Now let's go back to here. I'm trying to see if I can find. I have found a map, but I'm trying to see if I could find a better one. Hold on one second.
Hmm.
Let's see what this one shows. No, this is not what I want. That's not what I want. Let's find a different one. Let's see if this gives me what I want. Review. Oh, good. Let me see. Okay, I think I found a better one. Let me just save it. What is this one called? Okay, let's do this.
This
Right.
one's showing.
Let's put this back up here. All right, now let's see here. Now, for some reason, I'm not seeing you all. Let me see if I can see you all again. But I'm going to share this, and hopefully after that I can see you all. Can you all see that?
Not yet. Here it is.
You see
Okay.
it now?
yeah. Yes.
Okay. So if you look now, you will see where in the top, right up to the top, on more to the right, you see where Mamre is and Hebron.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's where Abraham was settling for a while. That's where he was when Sodom and Gomorrah got burnt down. That's the area that he was in. And if you look down to the to the right side, closer down to the bottom, you'll see where Sodom and Gomorrah is believed to be, right there. So you will see where Lot was and where he was, and then you will see that he is heading down the Negev region is more to the south, and you can see the Dead Sea is up in the north point corner, and if you look, you will see where Beersheba is, where, as I said, you will find in chapter 21 that he and King Abimelech made a treaty, a covenant. But there you will see on your left to the top, near to the top, where Gerar is supposed to be. That is a proximity of where this king Abimelech of Gerar was. So you see where I'm showing you now, Susan?
Yeah. Thank you.
Right, right. And
that's
then
fine.
and you can see up in the top left-hand corner where Gaza is and all that good stuff. And then you will see where the route that Abraham probably took on his way to Shur. It doesn't show you where that is. But also you see Kadesh is right there down in the bottom left-hand corner. So you see where
Okay.
Kadesh is. And you remember Lot went to Zor when he although this doesn't show you, I don't believe this is where Zor was, because this is even a little bit, let me see something. It seems a little bit north of Sodom and Gomorrah, although it said he went south. So I'm not sure if there is something there that is not correct, but it's a question mark too around where Zor is. But
Okay.
it
It's a
was in
good
that
picture.
general area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let me get back to see if I can see you all. Stop share. Now I can see you all. All right. So here you see Abraham would have left Hebron. In fact, I will still leave it up just in case we have to refer back to it. Just give me a second. I'll put it up again. Um, yeah, so Abraham moves from where he was. Oops, what did I do? Oops. Oh, come on. Just give me a minute. What am I doing? All right, let's get out of that and let's do that again. Okay, good. Yes. So you will see how he moves from Mamre, where Hebron is, and he's moving now down to the Negev, which is in the south. And you will see as well that one of the things we need to recognize is that the people back then were they were more nomadic. They didn't stay in one place all the time. They will pitch tent and all this sort of stuff, and live in an area on some land for quite some time, and then they moved again, as you will see. Abraham doing. They did not really have their land until after the Exodus, after they had lived in Egypt for 400 years as slaves, and then moved out, and then they came to the promised land, and then that's where they had more of a permanent place of abode. But prior to that, they didn't really have a permanent place of abode. And you see that Abraham was also one of those folks, and you will see the same thing happen with Isaac and Jacob, and as we read on in the book of Genesis. So here you see him moving now, and pitching tent, or his livelihood somewhere in the Negev region. Now, one of the things that we need to realize when we look at this is that we see again, and we saw it in chapter 12, but we see when Sarah was abducted by the Pharaoh in Genesis chapter 12. Now we're seeing it again, that she is abducted. Well, if you want to, for lack of a better word, but before we get to that, you see again, Abraham is telling what you will call half-truths. He doesn't tell a total lie, but he's telling a half-truth. He's saying that Sarah is his sister, but he doesn't tell you that she's also his wife, which is, I mean, she was both. She was his half-sister, born of his father, but not of his mother. They didn't share the same mothers. Which made her also Terah, which is Abraham's father, makes him her father as well. But Abraham does this thing again where he and his wife agrees that she is to be called his sister, he is to be called her brother, so that it protects him, because he is of the belief that once the king knows that this is his wife, he will kill him and take his wife. And he does not, and he doesn't. This is an example of where you have a faithful man who believes in God and all this good stuff, but sometimes his faithfulness wanes. He doesn't trust God enough to save him, even if he went and he said, "This is my wife." And so he still Abraham still had moments when his trust in the Lord failed, and as I said, we see that previously in Genesis chapter 12, and we see it here again, where for the second time he claimed that Sarah is his sister instead of acknowledging her as his wife, and by saying it is his sister, now Sarah is brought into the harem of King Abimelech. And as you see in verse 2, then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. So he took her, and in those days, it was a common thing. I mean, the king had as many women as he wanted, and once you were part of a harem, you will find that um, um, great honor was given to these women because the king had chosen them, and so they lived a life of luxury and security. And who knows if he had had a child with Sarah, that child could be an heir to the throne, so to speak. And one of the things that in the discussion we had this morning is that the lady, the group was saying, but she was 89 years old, which she was. How pretty could she have been for the king? And I remarked, and I said to them, you know, there's a number of things we got to think about. One is that we don't know how old the king was. He could have been that kind of age as well, so it wouldn't matter. He could have been younger too, and it didn't matter. The other thing that you have to come into play is that at 80, we are thinking about an 89, what an 89-year-old woman looked like today and comparing it to back then. And who knows? It may not be. I mean, look at it. Nobody lives to 175 years old now, and that's what Abraham lived to. Can you imagine what we would all look like if we lived to 175 years old? So you have to take that into consideration. I mean, there even, so she may have been 89, but not look like how 89 is today. Furthermore, as well, we got to realize we are not sure that the years back then was equal to the year for a year now as well. That is some of the things that we also have to pay attention to. And the other thing is that some scholars believe that since God what's the word I want to use? Since God allowed her to be fertile, and to give and to have a child at that age, what is to say that he didn't also enhance her youth as well, so that she still has a kind of a youthful body, or let's say a more youthful body to bear a child. So I mean, there's the different aspects that being 89 at the time, the king could have found her still very attractive, and she may have still been a beautiful woman at the time. And I mean, we saw it in Genesis chapter 10, where the Pharaoh thought that she was a beautiful woman, and he too wanted her for himself as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then and also too, what we also have to there was something else I want to say that we oh yes, that the other thing we'll see is that as we get later down in the book, I think it's chapter 26, Isaac is going to face a similar situation. He and Rebekah, and strangely enough, it will be from another king, Abimelech, as well. So you will see deja vu happen again, where Rebekah is going to be sorted out also, which would be Isaac's wife. So, but when we come to verse 3, you see then that God comes to Abimelech in a dream. And the thing about it is quite understandable that Abimelech was obviously not a Jew, and therefore, because Jews didn't have kings in those days, the whole notion of kings with the Jewish people came back in Saul, when we get to the kings and all of that, with Saul becoming the first king of Israel. So here you have this king called Abimelech, and he has a dream from God. And what is interesting is that he follows the dream. He realizes and recognizes that this is something different, that this is no ordinary person speaking to him in this dream. And so we see, but God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." And God, God says to him, she is married, and then you see this back and forth between Abimelech and God in verse 4. Now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he hadn't touched her, for one. And you will see by the end of this chapter that because of him taking Sarah into his court, that every woman in his household went barren. Although he never touched her, by just taking this married woman in to his court, all his wife and his household, all of them could not bear any children. And you will see that in verse 17 as we get to the ending of this chapter. Yes, George.
Well, I may be misreading the timetable here, but how long could Sarah have been there? I mean, she's going to have Isaac in a year, isn't she?
Yes, because it could have been in a space of about a year. It could have been sometime within a year period, I would think, because she had Isaac at 90. And we know that she had in the next chapter, she's going to have Isaac. So there's no real hard and fast of how long a period this could have been, but what we believe would have happened in this day and age, in that time, would have been that from the time Abraham and Sarah showed up, and not too long afterwards, once the king knew that this was not his wife, that it was his sister, and he is enthralled by her, that she's taken in. And I'm even going to get to it, that even although God saves Abimelech's life and his family and kingdom, really and truly, although he warned him and gave him some kind of protection and security, I think in the end, God was really preserving the Sarah, because she was supposed to bear the promised seed, and that was more so what was to happen. So she hadn't had the child yet. And in terms of the timeline, it could have been a year before she had the child, or sometime around that. It doesn't tell us per se exactly what time.
Well, it had to be 9 months after she was back with Abraham.
Say that again?
It had to be 9 months after she was back with Abraham, didn't it?
I don't. You mean that she could have been pregnant with Isaac? You mean?
I don't understand the timeline, and I might not be reading.
No, I'm not understanding your question. Tell me your question
It's a
again.
statement.
Well, if she was in the harem for a year,
It doesn't tell you, but did it tell you that she was in the
No.
harem?
Just
No,
wait.
it doesn't tell you that.
Just wait.
I'm saying she could, in my opinion,
Mhm.
she could only have been in the harem for a couple of weeks if she's going to have a child by Abraham
In 9
Mhm.
months.
in 9 months.
Yeah, I misunderstood your question. I thought you were asking when did this happen? Because what I'm saying is it could have happened sometime within a year of Isaac's birth. And yes, obviously from reading this, she was not in the harem for very long, because she came in, and one would presume that it did not take God too long. Obviously, God stopped him before he had any intimacy with her. So it could not have been that long. I mean, I do not think that a king would have took a woman into to his court like that and took a long time before he had intimacy with her. So you are right in thinking it could not have been a long time. Whether it was weeks or a couple of months, it was not a long time. So yes, because of the fact that God stopped him before he did anything. Does that make sense to you?
It does, but it doesn't seem to be enough time to notice that no one got pregnant.
To notice that what?
That none of
Abimelech's. Or-
Abimelech's trying to read. For God tightly
Oh, you mean
closed every womb in Abimelech's household on
Mhm,
account of Abraham's wife Sarah.
mhm,
I mean, it would just seem like it would take a while to figure out that, hey, nobody's getting pregnant here.
yeah. But you see, the thing is about it is when I read that, I read that as God doing this, but not necessarily that they know that it was done, if you get what I'm saying. It was just something God did when she was with him in the court. I don't remember, I'm trying to think. Did he ever say that, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm correct before I say it. Um, I don't think the king ever said, if somebody can find it, I don't think the king himself said that his household was barren. It is just written here that his household was barren during that time, if you get what I'm saying. So it's not necessarily that the king knew this, but this is what transpired as a result of Sarah being in the harem. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm trying? Do you all understand what I'm trying to say? It's not that the king knew that his whole people, all his women were barren, but whoever wrote this is saying that the king that the king's household was barren, and after Abraham prayed and God healed him, also the household, as a result, the females in the household were healed as well.
Where does it say that?
That what?
What do you just say? Where does it say about being barren and restoring the
Oh,
household?
verses 17 and 18 of the same chapter. Verses 17 and 18. It reads, Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his slave girls, so they could have children again. For the Lord had closed up every womb in Abimelech's household because of Abraham's wife Sarah.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
it is quite possible that Abraham knew. God could have told him, but the fact remains is that it is not necessarily that Abimelech knew, if you get what I'm saying. So because
Okay.
because they went barren, it doesn't mean that they knew they were barren, but more so that this is what resulted as a result of what the king did, but not that the king or his household or anybody for that matter knew that they were barren.
But it also said that the king never went near Sarah, so the
Well, no, but you see, it wasn't a matter of going near Sarah that caused the problem. It's fact that he took her, as verse 2 said, he took
right.
her, and from the time
Yeah.
he took her, obviously as a means of what he did, the females in his household, including his wife, became barren
Okay.
or couldn't have children.
But he didn't.
Hmm.
He didn't have sex with her because he said
But
she.
he didn't. He did not. If he
So-
had, he would have been dead.
Yeah. Okay, so-
Based on what
There's-
God says to him, you're as good as dead.
Sarah's child was not his. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. Okay. Okay.
So do you understand where I'm coming from though, George?
Yes, I do now.
Yes, exactly. So therefore now, and you see then Abimelech in verse 4, he then starts to have a conversation with God. Now, Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And didn't she also say, he is my brother? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. So you see him there saying that he only did this because of what they said to me, and you get the impression from him that if they had said, well, it's my wife and that's my husband, that he would not have gone that route. That is what it is apparently saying here. Now, we never will know whether or not he would have killed him and keep the wife, but we don't know that. But the fact is that based on what Abraham and Sarah said, he went on that premise. So he's saying to God, I am innocent. That's what they said. They lied to me. How could you want to destroy my nation when they lied to me? As far as I'm concerned, I did nothing wrong, and there, that is where the discussion comes in. And then you see in verse 6, God said to him in the dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. So you see that God acknowledges that he did it with a clear conscience, and that is why he's giving him a chance in this situation. And then in verse 7, now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all yours will die. So here you see now is that God gives him a command, and he has a choice. God gives him a choice. You can either keep her and die, or hand her over and not die and live. And so you still have a choice to make. But I've told you what I think you should do. And and so you see God giving him a choice. And again, allowing that whole word that we call free will to come into being, because you still have that choice to make.
But he decided to give her back to Abraham.
Correct. And so you see here then that that and what you're seeing here, as I said earlier, is God is intervening. He does save Abimelech from death, but more importantly, he intervenes to save Sarah, so as to preserve the legitimacy of the child that she is to carry, which is going to be following the promised seed, the line of the promised seed, and who is the one that is destined to carry on the covenant which God made with Abraham. And so you see that so that is an important aspect, God intervening so as to save Sarah. All right. Verse 8, early the next morning and following, you'll find the early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should not be done. And Abimelech asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? And so he now has a conversation with Abraham that, you were causing ruin to our nation by what up to that time he felt was a lie, because he didn't still know they were still brother and sister. That was true. But he's thinking, now you say that you're a brother and sister, but you're really husband and wife. Why would you do this to us and to cause us to destruction on our nation. And then you see Abraham, Abraham gets into his explanation, and you can see it here. He says, Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. So again, he goes back to this notion that he feels that since these people don't know about God or the God that he served, they probably have other gods. And therefore, if I tell people that this is my wife, they will take my wife from me and kill me. And so better to say my brother, my sister, and she said my brother. And it was more or less so that he can live. And that's why he did it. So he starts off by this. One good thing is he now decides to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So he's telling the whole truth now. And then he goes on. Besides, she really is my sister. So I really lied to you, really, fully, because she is my sister. She really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother. And she became my wife. So you see, now he goes into the whole truth that, that she is really his half sister. So that wasn't a lie that he took. It wasn't a total lie. He just decided not to tell all the truth. And then he goes on and says, and she became my wife. And when God had me wandered from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you shall show your love to me. Everywhere you go, say to me, he is my brother. So in other words, again, you see Abraham here is convincing Sarah with this whole scheme of his by telling her that if you really love me, you will do this for me. And here you hear this whole notion. You sometimes think to yourself, gee, man, the same thing still happens today. I mean, and it's been happening all down through these centuries, where you find Abraham is now saying, if you really love me, you really love me, you will tell them I'm your brother and you're my sister. Okay. So then you find in verse 14, now as a peace offering, so that he makes sure that he makes good with God, because I think this was more the king making good with God, even more so than with Abraham. In verse 14, you read, then Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. And Abimelech said, my land is before you, live wherever you like. So he wants to make sure that he comes clean, that God does not destroy him, that he is making good of what he did, although he did not really do in what would be classified in those days anything wrong, because he had no knowledge of who Sarah was. But he wants to make sure that God really, really redeems him from what he did, even although he didn't know what he did was wrong. And so he gives all of these herds to Abraham, and gives him slaves, and gives him back his wife, as God told him to do. And he even say to him, listen, this is my land. Live wherever you want to live. Doesn't matter. So in other words, he wants him to feel comfortable. And then he turns to Sarah and he says to Sarah, I'm giving your brother. And that's a strange thing. He doesn't say your husband. He says your brother in this case. He says, I'm giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. And so he does this to show that nothing more will come out of this situation in this case. One of the things I will say about this, and I cannot get away from not saying about it, is when you look at Abimelech, and it was in the gospel reading for day when I had mass this morning, and I even did a reflection on it. But you find here that Abimelech show more of a relationship to God and obeying God than Lot did. Than Lot did. Even although Lot was the one who is Jewish, Abimelech was not. And yet Abimelech was more heeded what God said, whereas and when God intervened, he listened to God. Whereas when God intervened in Lot's case, Lot's response was quite different to what God wanted. And so you see this whole notion of Lot was rescued from danger the same way Abimelech was rescued from danger, but Lot does not obey God's warning immediately. He had to be forced out by the angels in order to be protected and not be destroyed. And here you have Abimelech who listens, and he goes even beyond what God told him to do so as to find favor with God, to be approved by God. Because God has told him, give the woman back to her husband. But instead of doing that, he did more than that. He even gave him herds and people to help him and money and land so that he can be really exonerated and that God will approve of him, which is quite different to what Lot did. And I mentioned that because the gospel today had to do with the story from Luke's gospel in chapter 7, which deals with the centurion who had a servant that was gravely ill, and he sends out some Jewish elders and his friends to tell Jesus that he would like him to heal the servant. And then later on he sends out friends and he says to them to tell Jesus that he would prefer him not to come onto his roof, but just say the word only, and he know that his servant will be healed. And it tells you about the profound faith of the man, of the centurion, and so much so that Jesus was so amazed that he said to the Hebrew people that were there, that he has not found in all of Israel such faith as that of the centurion. Now, a centurion is a Roman soldier, a Roman military officer. He is a Gentile. He is not part of the whole Abrahamic covenant, the covenant with Abraham. And so here was this man who knew that Jesus was a greater person than him, and that he was inferior to our Lord, and know that our Lord had more authority than him and can do far more than he can do. Although he had authority over his military, he had authority over his servants, but he knew that Jesus had authority over him. And so, and the other part of that gospel was the whole notion of when John the Baptizer, I call him John the Baptizer, when he was in prison for reprimanding Herod Antipas, who had married Herodias, his brother's wife. John was hearing about what the work that Jesus was doing, and then he yet sent two of his disciples to find out if Jesus is really the Messiah. So you see here that even John, who was the forerunner, the one who proclaimed the coming of Jesus and all that, he too had his doubts about who Jesus was and or who Jesus is. And so and the good thing about it is that Jesus doesn't even reprimand him or say, you know, John should have known better. He's who baptized me, and he's who proclaimed me the Lamb of God, and all. He never did any of that. He just said to the disciples, go and tell John what you're seeing happening. The lame is walking, the blind is seeing, the cripple and all of these people, the dead is being raised, the good news is being preached to the poor. And what he does is that he takes quotes out of the prophecies of Isaiah, which told you that he was the Messiah, because it was the expectation of what the Messiah would have done. And so when he told John's disciples to do this, he was just saying, when you tell John this, he will know that the Messiah and God's kingdom is being revealed. So I say all of that to say is that here you had a centurion who had profound faith. And then you had John, who was a faithful man. I mean, Jesus himself said, there's been no other prophet greater than John the Baptist. And you had John, who were having his doubts and his faith tested at that time. And it shows us again here with Abimelech and Lot, and with the centurion and John, that sometimes it tells you faithful people can, in the case of Abraham, faithful people can waver. They're not perfect people. They can miss. They can miss the boat sometimes, as you will see Abraham did in this case with he and Sarah and passing each other off as just siblings. And yet there are those who have profound faith, who exercises obedience, who we would least expect to. These people can also inspire us, and we're not to just throw them off as if they cannot, if you get what I'm saying. Yes, Susan.
Well, in chapter 21, Isaac is born. Did Abraham know that was going to happen? Did God tell him he was going to have a son?
Oh, many times. Oh, many times. Too many times.
I thought he did, but I was like,
yeah,
so
that happened. That I know you missed some of the you missed some of the things, but yes, that happened. That happened periodically leading up to this chapter. Oh yes.
So that's why he wanted to make sure Sarah was safe, because he knew down the line.
He knew that Sarah knew God had promised them a child, and she laughed and all that good stuff, and even lie about laughing and all that good stuff. So yes, they knew that God had promised them, and he didn't say it once, he didn't even say it twice. He said a number of times to them. It was almost like, hey, I don't know why he had to tell them so many times if it wasn't registering in their brains.
Abimelech was kind of throwing a curve in the plan, so that's
correct. You can see it that way. You can see it that way. That is why I say too is that although God delivered Abimelech from committing something, sin, or a wrongdoing that could destroy him and his household and his kingdom. Although God saved him from that, I do believe that God was more saving, intervening to save Sarah so that she can continue what was God's plan for her. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
You're welcome. Right. So then we see at the end then where we had verses 17 and 18, then Abraham prayed to God and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his saved girls so they could have children again. For the Lord had closed up every womb in Abimelech's household because of Abraham's wife Sarah. So you see here that he is able um, uh, that the promised son through will come into play in the next chapter. Abimelech is back to where he was. It would and it's not the last that you will hear of him. You will hear about Abimelech again in chapter 21. In the second part of chapter 21, you will see him and Abraham making a more or less like a contract between the two of them um, um, at that point in time. So yeah. Any questions? Yes, George.
This seems to have a little bit of a same type situation with King David.
Uh-huh.
And was it Bathsheba?
Yes. What were the difference?
And then, bad things happened there also.
Correct. Well, bad things happened because he went ahead and did it. So that is why bad things happened. He was intimate with her, and then it became so bad that he ended up killing the woman's husband. Which is probably, if you really think about King David, that's probably the worst thing he did, because he goes down in Israel. He goes down as one of Israel's best kings, as one of the good kings, and so it was a terrible thing he did, but it was probably the worst thing that he did. Yeah, and one of the very few bad things that he did in that regard. But yes, you are correct. You see what happens when you don't. What in the case of Abimelech, you see what happens with David when you do. And David lost. And they lost a child as well, so the child did not live. And so you see the good thing about David is that's why he's classified as a good king, is that he realized that he sinned, and he really repented. He really went into a period of repentance, and so that too shows you that. Yes, you may do something wrong. Yes, you may do something bad, but God does forgive you if you are truly penitent of what you did. And David is an example of that.
Oh, I was gonna say there's a cartoon coming. There's a movie out about David. It's an animated one.
It is?
Yeah, it's coming out next week, I think. So
Okay.
Yeah, called David.
yeah, so you can catch up with that too.
Yeah.
I doubt if that little story is
I
going to
don't
be
think that-
in that.
I don't think that little murder thing will be in there. but-
I doubt if they'll go there.
Well, you never know. I mean, that is part of, lots of people remember David because of that. So I will be surprised if they leave it out, but you never know.
It's going to be in the theater next week, so you can.
Oh, but then if it's going to be in a theater, I'm almost certain they will put it in somehow, even if not as graphic as it was.
Awesome. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from anyone?
No. When do we start again? We're not meeting.
I haven't exactly, probably toward the ending of January, when I've gotten through the beginning part of January. I have to get through with the annual meeting coming up and all of that. So I like to focus and get that out of the way and then restart again.
We're going to continue with Genesis. So,
yes, we'll start. I hope we could go a little quicker this time. I hope we can get it finished quicker. But it
We
is
have
an
to keep up with
interesting
the
book.
morning. The morning
It is.
group has to go faster.
Oh yeah, they get into it, man. But it is an interesting book. It is a really interesting book. And and I mean the class is they're enjoying it and they're delving into to various aspects. I mean, not more different than what, but they just have much longer discussions on certain things, and that is why. And it's good to hear them, doing this and all that sort of stuff, and bringing in scenarios that have happened in their own lives and that sort of stuff too.
Well, I like that you share some of their stories too, because it gives a different perspective to us too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why sometimes like, you'll hear me saying that, this morning they were saying so and so and so and so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember everything that they say because it's so much, but that's when I remember something I will say, yes, yeah.
It's usually different. Okay.
Well, I'll be
Yeah.
seeing you all January 4th. 'Cause
You're coming in on
in
January. Oh,
person.
so you will be here
In
for the first
person.
Sunday of the year.
person, yes.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Larry and I are both in-
Larry will be coming as well.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
Good.
I've got 6 weeks after that, February.
So you come in February. Okay, you come in February.
Of course, I was ready to go last week. It was 25 below.
But you told me this year you were coming for a longer time. Are you still doing that or you're not?
It's a month. It's a month.
Yeah, but last year you told me you were coming for a longer time than a month.
I know.
You don't remember that.
Wishful thinking, I think, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wishful
the
thinking.
weather came. I like springtime here. so-
Reality is.
Oh, yes. And spring is good. Spring is good.
Mhm.
My favorite time in Illinois used to be the fall season, though. I love fall. I love
Yeah.
to see the different
We-
colors of leaves and that sort of stuff.
We had
So
a
that was great.
magnificent fall. We really had a great fall.
Yes, I love the fall in Illinois. It was wonderful.
Yes.
That if there's any season I miss, that is the season I miss of all the seasons. Was the fall.
Southern
Yes.
Illinois is gorgeous. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So
Yes.
is northern, so is central New York.
Yes. All right, everyone, have a good night. Linda and Susan, you have a Merry Christmas, a joyous Christmas
You too.
tide. I will
One more
see you,
question.
Linda, in.
Did you get your tree up with the white decorations?
Oh yes, my
For your
tree is
mom?
up.
Okay.
I don't have it lit now.
okay.
But yes, it was. But my tree is up. It has on all white and transparent ornaments. It's in memory of my mom.
That's what you said.
I did the same thing 6 years ago for my dad, and so I've done the same thing for my mom now. I mean, it was interesting because I went to Home Depot to get a tree, and amazingly enough, I had to say this tree was for me because there was this nice, bushy, tall. It was an 8-foot tree, but it was placed among the 6-foot trees. So I got an 8-foot tree for a 6-foot tree price.
Your mom was looking out
Yeah.
for you.
Well, my mom was looking out for me, man. Let me tell you.
Okay.
I got an
Well, good.
8-foot tree with a 6-foot tree price because I was looking for something more 6 foot or 7, but I got an 8-foot tree for a 6-foot tree price. So I was like,
You got an
because
8-foot.
even when the guy saw it, he says this tree should never be here. But when we look at the tag, it had the 6-foot price on it, and I was like, well, you're not putting it anywhere else but in my hand.
I guess you must have an 8-foot ceiling in your house. That's good.
Yes, it could go. I mean, I had to take off a little piece at the top.
Mhm.
There's usually got the part that
Oh,
goes
yeah.
up without
Okay.
anything on it. But I was able to cut off that so that
Do you have an
the
do you have an
star
angel
can fit
or
on.
do you have an
Hmm?
angel or a star?
I put a star.
Okay.
I put a star.
I have an angel.
Um,
Okay.
huh?
I put an angel on mine, but
Okay.
Oh, you put an angel on yours. Yes. But I put a star on mine, and yeah, as I said, it has on all white lights and all transparent and white ornaments, and
okay.
it is It is, yeah, it's in tribute. I have one little white angel on it to represent my mom. And I have one other ornament on it that has the nativity scene. And that's why, but I put that because Christmas is about the nativity. And so that is also on it. But apart from those two special ornaments, all the rest are white or transparent or stars that are white or that. So yeah.
Good. Well, have a Merry Christmas then. Thank you.
Yes, I
Everybody-
will. I will.
everybody have
And
a
you
Merry
too,
Christmas.
okay?
Good
And
night.
everybody else, I'll see them at
Happy
church.
New
I will not
Year.
wish you a Merry Christmas.
See you in the new year. Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Pam must be really struggling.
Huh?
I said Pam must be really struggling.
Yeah. All right. Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for hosting.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.